Exciting Tudor news, everyone! Historians and curators at Hever Castle have announced that they've discovered the only object from any 16th century painting to survive to the present day, and it's directly linked to Thomas Cromwell. Between 1532 and 1534, Thomas Cromwell commissioned Hans Holbein, court painter to Henry VIII, to produce a series of portraits of favoured courtiers. Henry's annulment to Catherine had gone through Parliament, Anne Boleyn was queen and pregnant, depending on the year, and those in Cromwell's political circle were on the rise. In the copies of the portrait we have, the original sadly no longer exists. We can see that Cromwell has been depicted as a counsellor and master of the jewel house, a royalist and crucially a reformist and legal scholar. The tools of his trade are on display: legal papers, quill, and a prayer book. The prayer book, with its distinctive silver gilt binding and bejewelled decorations, is a book of hours from a really specific print run in 1527. If you're not aware, a book of hours contains prayers for the canonical hours, the fixed times for prayer throughout the day, as well as usually including a church calendar for feasts and holy days. They're some of the most common books that we have surviving from this period of history, but they tend to be unique to time, place, patron, or particular print edition. This 1527 Book of Hours was printed in Paris by Germain Houdon, decorated with grossular garnets, and the gilt edging was made by Pierre Mangot, goldsmith to King Francis I of France himself. The hallmark of uppercase M and lowercase a tells us that the binding was specifically made between December 1529 and 1530 in Paris, around a year or so after the book was initially printed. Intriguingly, Mango also made commissioned items for the Boleyn family. There are 3 significant copies of this print edition still in existence. The first belonged to Catherine of Aragon, the second belonged to Anne Boleyn, and the third was long thought lost but was discovered in the Wren Library at Trinity College Cambridge this year. The owner was Thomas Cromwell, and the book was painted ever so carefully by Hans Holbein into that portrait of Cromwell. The discovery of this book in particular, goes back to 2021. Kate McCaffrey, assistant curator at Hever Castle, was conducting research into the 1527 Book of Hours and made the link that both Catherine and Anne had copies of the same edition. Further research found the third copy had been donated to the University of Cambridge in 1660 by Dame Anne Sadler. Alison Palmer, another curator at Hever, recognised the decoration on this third prayer book and thought, wow, this prayer book, it looks really similar to the one in the Cromwell portrait painted by Holbein. McCaffrey, Palmer and Dr. Owen Emerson, who has previously commented on a past video, which is kind of weird but a little bit cool, and they worked to trace the provenance all the way back to Cromwell himself. Anne Sadler, who donated the Book of Hours all the way back in 1660, was also a really fascinating woman herself. I was doing quick research and I was like, wow, this woman's amazing. So her mother was a Paston of the infamous Paston family of Norfolk, whose letters and diaries have provided us such insight into the 15th and 16th centuries. She was the daughter of Sir Edward Cuck, Speaker of the House, Attorney General, allied to Robert Cecil, prosecutor of just about anyone and everyone in Elizabeth I and James I reigns, and instrumental in the passing of the Petition of Right, which is a key foundational document for establishing individual protection against the state. She was also a fervent royalist, collector of curiosities, and virulent hater of Oliver Cromwell.
Gagatondra.
Her husband was Ralph Sadler, the son of Thomas Sadler, who was himself the son of Ralph Sadler, secretary and protege to Thomas Cromwell, later becoming Privy Councillor, Secretary of State and Ambassador to Scotland. Somehow, Ralph Sadler got his hands on this prayer book. It managed to survive the Bill of Attainder placed on Cromwell. If you're not in the know, attainder was a favourite tool of the Tudor monarchs. Essentially, someone you don't like who's committed a crime, you pass this bill on them, you remove the need for a trial, and you get to keep all their stuff. I would be interested if there's any further information from how it passed from Cromwell into the Sadler family. Did this prayer book manage to escape the Bill of Attainder? did Sadler just go into Cromwell's house and take it? Did Cromwell pass it on to Sadler somehow over the course of his life? So Sadler had actually been in Cromwell's household since about the age of 7, and his first son, Thomas, was named in honour of Thomas Cromwell, so maybe Cromwell stood as godfather and the prayer book was given as an honorary gift. I don't know. I would like to know if there's any specific documentation on how exactly it passed into the Sadler family's hands. If you're interested in seeing this unique artefact that comes right from the heart of political power in Henry VIII's court, Cromwell's prayer book will be on display at Hever Castle as part of their exhibition Catherine and Anne, Queen's Rivals Mothers, until I think it's the 10th of November 2023. I'm hoping to get to see it myself, but if I don't, and if you can't, the Castle's online shop actually has a book which is all about the discovery of Cromwell's prayer book, goes into way more detail, and it's available for purchase. Purchases help conserve, the castle, their collection, it helps fund future research, so I would encourage you to make a purchase, buy this book if you're interested, and help keep them going, because who knows how many other Tudor treasures are just lying out there waiting to be discovered.